Hello, Cosmic Soul family. Ella Ivy here with Lives on Astrology on our Metaphysical Hour here on Friday night. Today is Friday the 13th. It is a divine feminine energy. A lot of us have a relationship with the Friday the 13th. Well, a lot of us have been raised to have superstitious beliefs about Friday the 13th. Okay, guys, just so you know, I'm also recording here live on TikTok and on YouTube. So if I go back and forth, I'm just kind of welcoming in the conversation, the Metaphysical Hour. This is a space where we are inviting in conversation. We're inviting in connection. We're inviting what you might have about metaphysics, about astrology. What I have up here in the screen, if you guys are watching, and again, I'm still connecting to the YouTube channel. But what we're looking at today is Friday the 13th, the actual astrology for this day. And we're also upcoming and approaching the equinox energy, the vernal equinox, which is March 20th. We also have right before that a new moon in Pisces on March 19th. We also have Mercury, our mind, the planet of how we think and how we process and integrate and perceive information is also going to be moving forward because it's been retrograde for the last, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year for 3.5 weeks each time. So now it's been retrograde in the sign of Pisces, which has to do with our emotional nature. If you're looking at the screen here, it has to do with all things 12th house, which is our unconscious, our subconscious, things that are hidden. In traditional astrology, they called it the house of the self-undoing, because Pisces also has to do with addiction. It has to do with escapism, in its disagreeable aspects. But then Pisces also has to do with our highest hopes, dreams, and wishes, right? Our visions for the future, our visions for humanity, our visions to unite with oneness. And so right now we have this interesting configuration and this interesting awareness coming online for all of us that this reality is not what we've been told. If you guys are following the channel, you're seeing that I've been sharing a lot of Jordan Maxwell stuff, especially concerning law and banking and religion. And I would even go so far as to say, healthcare and who's really in charge, right? There's just so much that's happening right now. Just so you guys know, I'm also filming on YouTube. So if I'm looking back and forth, I'm also, wait a minute, hold on. I would even go so far as to say, healthcare and who's really in charge, right? There's just so much that's happening right now. Hold on, guys. Just so you guys pause. Now I'm also filming on YouTube. So. All right, sacred pause. Let me go back to Zoom. Okay. Here I am. I'm still filming, but I'm on YouTube. So yeah, we're good. Let me go ahead and record this just because you never know. All right, recording. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Sorry, sacred pause. I'm still navigating technology in this retrograde season. But let's kind of get into it. Let's get into the metaphysics of this energy. And the reason why we go metaphysics is because it's beyond the physical. It's beyond what we can see, what we can connect to in the physical, which is kind of funny because if we look at the moon right now, the moon has actually ingressed into Capricorn, which likes to feel, right, to tactile. Like I gotta see it before I believe it. But what we're in the frequency is that, especially with all this Pisces right now, is we have to believe it before we see it. That's the inversion. That's kind of what this reality, because as kids we've been indoctrinated to, oh, you're just imagining it. Don't use your imagination. That you're just making that shit up. Well, that's how we create in this realm, is by imagining it first and then connecting to our heart, feeling like it's already happening, feeling, because a lot of the times when we're trying to manifest, guys, it has nothing to do with the actual thing itself. It has to do with the experience that this thing will bring you, right? And so if you guys are trying to manifest more money, for example, which a lot of us are in this realm, right? Well, what's the money actually going to do for you? What's the money going to bring you? What experience is that going to bring you? And so this is something to really kind of deep dive into, especially when we're in this metaphysical realm of manifestation and connection and imagination. And again, everything is up for grabs for what we think we know about this reality in terms of banking, our current our energy field, how we even connect to our own spirit, right? There's just so much to be looking at. And so I'd like to invite you in here now, if you guys are joining the live, whether on YouTube or on TikTok, to please bring any questions you might have about the energy, about astrology, about things that you might be picking up on. Let's just really ignite the conversation here, because I feel like a lot of us already have this inner knowing and this inner skill set, this inner knowledge. I really believe that we're transcending the need for gurus or saviors outside of us anymore. It really is about being able to connect to our own inner ancestors that live within our own DNA, our own blood, our cells, our bones, right? Like how we've been taught about this reality and this space and time again has been inverted. And so what I'm looking at, let's go ahead and look at the astrology right now and let's talk a little astrology. And by the way, if you guys are into astrology and you want to know more about it, because astrology really, it's a language and it's a way to connect to the energies through our words, right? Because everything means something. So when you're speaking astrology, it's like speaking a certain system, right? Not everybody knows the system. So if you guys want to check out my bio, I have a free PDF, an astrology 101, that gives you the symbols, it gives you the definitions, it gives you the basics of astrology if you're looking towards learning astrology and want to know Western astrology. This is just something that I'm gifting you guys. Please, you guys check out the bio. There's free ebooks and things that are all astrology based. Again, if you're wanting to learn more astrology, because it's a language. So I'm going to go ahead and speak some of the language of astrology right now. And just kind of stay with me if you can. And we're going to do tonight, what I was drawn to do, because I always like to meditate and ask, okay, spirit, like, okay, guides, what wants to be brought through the collective today, especially in Capricorn, with the moons in Capricorn. The moon is our emotions. And what does the collective might have an emotional need for? Well, to work on themselves, because Capricorn is all about work. It's about mastery. It's about really stepping into your own inner authority. And because it's sextiling, and a sextile means that a planet or a luminary is 60 degrees away from another planet or a luminary. And sextiles usually, when we talk astrology, either has a harmonious or disharmonious frequency, right? They call it a hard aspect or an easy aspect. And so sextiles tend to be an easier aspect, tends to be, look at the base of the word sextile, right? It's like positive friction. You got to actually move towards something, whatever the planets are involved in this sextile, which right now we see, and I look at the degree points, right? So that's how you connect to what a sextile is. You go, well, how is a planet sextiling one another? Well, you look at the degrees. So right now, if you're looking at the screen, the moon is at 21 degrees Capricorn. So I look for another planet or luminary that's close to the 21 degree point all around the wheel. That means that I'm looking for what's called an aspect, because that's how basically an aspect is how the planets are talking to one another. Are they having an agreeable conversation or are they having a disagreeable conversation? Well, sextiles tend to have an agreeable conversation, right? They want to get things done. They're connected. They're moving towards unity, towards creation, right? But that positive friction, right? Sextile. And so right now the moon is sextiling what? The sun in Pisces. So it's really working on our subconscious. It's working on our 12th house matters, things that are hidden, our psychic abilities, right? Our abilities to really see beyond the physical. And Capricorn is saying, even though it wants physical work done, it's saying, okay, I'm willing to work at learning how to astral project. I'm willing to work at really connecting to my spiritual nature and to my divine essence in a new way, right? So there's this cooperative energy that's happening, and I was really feeling it. And right in between these two luminaries, well, there's Pluto. Pluto is rules the underworld. It rules death, transformation, transfiguration. And it's in Aquarius, which is what? You and me, the collective, humanity. And so right now, humanity is going through a huge evolutionary leap in consciousness. But we had to disintegrate the old false narratives and old false structures, power structures that kept us in this bondage of, I would say, because of Pisces, of escapism, illusion, uh, drugs, right? Look at our pharmaceutical industry. I mean, again, this is for entertainment purposes only, social media. We're talking about these things. I feel like I have to preempt this with that, but that's okay. It's fine. This is just a story. We're just story time telling, we're just sharing information, sharing stories. But let's really look and deep dive into these stories that have been perpetuated, especially through mainstream media and through those in charge who have a specific agenda to capture our perception. And they've done it through sigils, through symbols, through language, through a religion, through a banking system, right? I mean, this thing goes deep, 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 especially if you've been following the channel and studying any of Jordan Maxwell's stuff. And now I'm getting into Master Yao's stuff, which is very intriguing too. Again, I would just encourage you guys to who is drawing you right now, especially the ancestors that you're really drawn to. There's been a lot of great content on the channel 363 Empire. You guys can check him out. He is incredible with having elderly guests that have been doing this, have been studying this for a long, long time. And they finally feel safe because of what's going on. We'll call them the Einstein file crew. I don't want to give that group too much energy, but you know what I'm talking about. Since all that's been released, then we're starting to see that even if we thought, oh, that shit didn't happen, oh, adrenochrome, what? I don't know if I really believe that. Well, now we're starting to see, oh shit, this stuff really exists, right? There's these cannibalistic energies, these vampiric parasitic energies that have been running all of our systems, all the systems that we have put in place, that we have, and I say this gently, but naively given power to. But I don't blame us because, again, we've been indoctrinated to look outside of ourselves and to look for a savior figure from a very young age. We were indoctrinated to look outside of ourselves and not know our own power. And so today, with Friday the 13th, it being such a pivotal divine, I call it divine feminine. It's returning to our magnetic principle, because that's what the feminine is to me. When I look at masculine and feminine, I look at the magnetic qualities of us. If we're like magnets, right? And then we have electricity as well, because we're bioelectric magnetic beings. Then bio is biology, right? So we're organic. And then we have the electric part of us, which is the masculine, and then we have the magnetic part of us, which is the feminine, right? Let me know if you guys can. I don't even know if I can see you guys on YouTube or not, but I hope you guys can hear me okay. This thing tends to be on. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to see if you guys had any questions. I'm going to go ahead and say hi to people that are popping in and out of the chat. I'm inviting you to have any participatory, if you're having any, want to have a conversation about astrology, if you have any questions about the energy right now. Because again, okay, so that was one of the first things we looked at as far as astrologically. And I know you guys that are on YouTube can't see it, but what I'm looking at is the astrological chart. So we're looking at a sextile between the moon and the sun. I'm also seeing too a square. So there's a 90-degree aspect. So squares are considered a hard aspect or a disagreeable aspect. And so the moon is actually in a hard aspect with Chiron, which is our wounded healer, right? It's in the sign of Aries, which is the child, the baby, right? Of the zodiac. It's also squaring Eris, who is Aries' sister in the mythos of astrology. So Aries' sister, she was known as the goddess of discord. So in this story of the pantheon of Greek mythology, there was a story how the Greeks wanted to have a party, but they didn't invite Eris because she was the goddess of discord, right? They wanted to have a good time. They didn't want to have any disruptions in their party. And so she's like, well, fuck that. So she rode in on a white horse, right? And she's like, okay, here, I'm going to throw a golden apple in front of three goddesses to say who's the most beautiful. And it was the goddess of war. It was Aphrodite, Athena, and who's the other goddess? This is escaping me right now. Oh, shoot. I think it was justice, war, and beauty. So it's Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite, right? So she came in and she's like, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to throw this golden apple to who's the most beautiful. And so it created this disruption, right? It created this whole, like, because of course, the vanity of the goddesses, well, of course, they wanted to be the most beautiful, voted the most beautiful. So they tried to bribe this guy Paris because he was the one, she's like, they all voted on him to say, okay, you get to vote, Paris. And so what did Aphrodite do? She's like, look, if you vote for me, I'll give you the most beautiful woman in the kingdom, right? She bribed him. She bribed him. Does this sound familiar? I'm just saying, like when you start really looking at the mythos, and what it's describing is human nature. It's describing all of the aspects of our personalities, the agreeable, the disagreeable, the light, the shadow, right? So we tend to look at these aspects astrologically. We really get down to what's going on internally. So we're having to face our own egos. We're having to face our own disagreeable natures right now. And I really truly feel and know and believe that we are powerful creators. And as I continue to tap into the divine feminine and the more magnetic aspect of all of us, again, it's not a gender, it's a frequency. I realize that our consciousness, our perception, our ability to create has been so commandeered. And again, this thing goes deep. If you go back to Disney from you were a child, if you watch Disney movies, and supposedly they interwove some things into the Disney movies that again, think of like how we are programmed. I'm thinking MK Ultra stuff, right? The MK Ultra, say MLK, I gotta watch what I say here. But they've known how our brain gets programmed. Again, I love this quote. I don't know who says it. I have to look it up. But they said, give me the boy before the age of 7, and I'll show you the man. Why did they say that? Because between the age of 0 and 7, kids are in what's called theta state. It's a type of brainwave pattern. It's the programmable brainwave state. And we're in this stage for 7 years. So for the first 7 years of our life, we're in this theta brainwave state where that's how we get all of our programs, right? And so anything after the age of 7 is just repeating. That's when school starts, right? And then they do things in cycles of 12, right? Think of like the 12 disciples, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 years in school, because they understand this frequency. Again, they understand numerology and how these cycles work. So if you're in the system for 12 years, that means that you need 12 years to be fully indoctrinated into what? Into what you're being programmed to believe about everything, about our nature, about our physical reality, about space, time, flat earth, round earth. Everything we've been taught has been a program. And if we can really step out of our ego and accept that what we think we know, we don't. It's just it's just that simple. We think we know, but we don't. And yet, it's my ancestors tell me, because my ancestors they go deep with me, right? Because I've really been connecting to my great-great-grandmother energy, which is in Saturn. And that's another thing. Saturn has been denoted a lot of times in astrology by the masculine. It's the father. Look at the rings of Saturn. Look at the rings of a wheel. It's a womb. Everything, all life comes from a womb. All creation comes from a womb. Really allow yourself to go deep with this. This is deep stuff. So the womb of Saturn, the rings of Saturn is the grandmother's, the great-grandmother energy that we were all born out of, right? Even the masculine, even the feminine, the masculine, everything, all genders are come from a womb. And to me, the great-grandmother womb of Saturn is mostly androgynous. She gave birth to her own son, right? Like she had that parthenogenic ability to create her own frequency. So again, as we're honoring the Friday the 13th, as we're honoring the divine feminine, who's been, and I don't want to say she's repressed, because honestly, I feel like a part of the divine feminine has been ruling the roost the whole time, and she's just hidden herself. She said, you know what? I'm going to withdraw my energy because it's just the way the cycles work is we're in a field, a window. And so it's like a breath, right? It's like we take an inhale and then we exhale. And that's polarity to me, is the inhale, the exhale, everything's moving in, everything's moving out. And again, allow yourself to deep dive into this because this is Metaphysical Hour. And if you guys have ever played with plant medicine or done holotropic breath work or have really connected to that aspect of self, you know, deeper probably than you ever allow yourself to experience, you're going to experience another reality that does not look like this reality. It looks completely different, especially when you go out in nature. And Mama Nature will show you a whole new frequency, a whole new geometry. I mean, this thing, it's very, very deep. So I wanted to invite anybody that had any questions right now, any conversation pieces, anything you wanted to know about the astrology right now, because also the square energy is asking us and inviting us to, especially since Chiron's here, it's about the wounds that we all carry. With Aries, it has to deal with first house matters, which is identity, the sense of self, the I am presence. And in this inverted reality, none of us ever felt worthy or loved enough or worthy enough to even be seen. Like this thing gets very, very deep. And so when you start going into the codes, I was just having memories come up the other day of shit that I forgot about. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that happened. Because I've been doing a parasite cleanse and I've been doing, this is for my own gnosis, right? It's my own playing, I'm being my own physician here in a way, my own, working with my own chemistry. I've been using hydrogen peroxide therapy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the 1 minute cure. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not saying, you know, go do this. I'm just saying what I am personally working with. And this has been a game changer. Just understanding the jinn, right? We talk about the jinn. Who are the jinn? Well, for me, it's hydrogen and oxygen, right? It's never what we think. Again, everything's been demonized and inverted, and there are disagreeable aspects, but I believe and know that it's how it's a chemical reaction. Either you have a positive chemical reaction or a negative chemical reaction working with these jinn energies, these sort of gaseous substance that have spirit, that have the creative force that's within us. Again, I feel like all of these energies and entities reside somewhere within us. Even as far as the reptilian brain, we talked about the reptiles, right? And I invite you to go do your own deep dive with that, right? Because we're projectors. We have created this reality. So if we're creating reality mostly based on our lower reptilian nature, then that's what we're going to see as a reptilian frequency outside of us, who is parasitic and just likes to eat. They don't think about their food, right? It's kind of like I love the example Jordan Maxwell gave on one of his talks. He said, if you're still eating chicken and you're going to, Kentucky Fried Chicken and to get a bucket of chicken, are you really worried about the life and the family of the chicken that you just ate, right? You're just eating a bucket of chicken because you're hungry. And unfortunately, a lot of these energies and entities that have been in this realm, that's what humanity has been. It's like a bucket of chicken. I hate to say that, but that's to keep it in its simplest form, right? I look at the Occam's razor of spirituality, the simplest explanation tends to be the correct. So just like we're meat eaters and we look at certain things and certain frequencies, like, oh, it's just cattle. If you've ever gone to see cattle to a slaughter, if you're the cow, you'd have a whole different experience. That's all I'm saying. So we need to just really be aware of how this thing works on the deeper levels and be willing to clean up our consciousness and even be willing to have a revolution of how we eat, how we breathe, how we think, how we educate ourselves, what we do physically to our bodies, who we interact with. Like everything there's a lot of our systems that are dissolving right now and making us face not only our own personal power, but again, this is Saturn right next to Neptune, our responsibility on how we wield our power. If we really are these powerful creators, which I believe we are, actually, no, I'm transcended belief. I know we are, because again, that's why I keep using this graphic, because this is how I see us. I even look at the energy of, like, in the language, for example, when I look at the signs of the zodiac, Taurus. Well, did you know in ancient writings and script, there were no vowels? There are no vowels in Sanskrit and of the ancient language, right? Vowels were created later on in life, right? The vowel, what vowels were we taking when we started working with vowels, right? Look at the language. But if you break down the etymology of Taurus, right? Taurus, Taurus, like the second sign of the zodiac right here, or Taurus, Toros, like our toric field, like the toric field, the spinning donut. And you guys can look that up on YouTube if you don't know what a toric field looks like. That's the Taurus. So what if the astrology and the symbolism is telling you, look, you are literally part of you is this toric field. The Aries is the emergence. And again, I would invite you guys to deep dive if you're really into astrology. Just sit with the symbols themselves. Look at the symbols of Aries. If you're just imagine energy, right? Sprouting out. It's like something emerging from the one and then it's coming out into the two, right? It's almost like it's coming out like a toric field energy. And then Taurus, it's how it's spinning. And then this is where it divides itself, like the cell that divides itself, Gemini, it's why it's two. And so on and so forth, Cancer, and then it starts metabolizing and then it starts creating. This is in the womb space. And it goes on and on and on all the way till the end of Pisces. And again, I don't want to, I'm just sharing my own thoughts and connections to these symbols because I'm trying to bypass language because I understand language has been inverted. And really, after studying a lot of Savan Bomar's work in understanding and secret energy, he's on the other social media platforms on the YTube. I think some of him may be on TikTok. He talks about, and he goes deep with this, how if symbols and letters are time connected to time, because time is creation, right? So all dimensional spaces are created by time. And this is something else for you to deep dive into. Again, look at the Saturnian, right? The rings around Saturn, which holds a womb. It's like a womb. It's a container, right? It contains this, whether you call it a flat earth or a round earth, whatever your perception is, because neither one's right. I believe it's a terrarium, and it just depends on how you're looking at it. Because both are correct. It's not either or, it's and more. In this world of polarity, where it's this or that, again, we're in duality, looking at contrast so we can see ourselves. Otherwise, we're just light. So we needed to create contrast so we can actually see ourselves, have a visible experience, a physical experience is by having contrast. And so with the letters, we've only been given 26 letters in the English language, which is interesting because if letters are the construct and words are the construct, we've only been given half the symbols because there's 52 weeks in a year if you're still following the Gregorian time period. And again, that's just a system, whether you follow the system or not. And unfortunately, most of us who are still in the grind, 9 to 5, 40-hour a week shit, we're still following that system. But we're learning to transcend and get out of the system. This is where the sovereignty codes come in. And this is why this is a pivotal time period right now, because this Pisces energy is asking you to really step in and do what you love. And don't worry about the money. The money will be there. Follow your bliss. And I'm not saying don't support yourself or take care of yourself, but I'm saying don't make the 40-hour work week and working for somebody else and being a slave to somebody else's abundance. Don't make that the focus anymore. Or in other words, I'm not telling you what to do. You don't have to make that the focus anymore. You can make yourself, Aries, what you want to be responsible for. What are your dreams? What are your visions for the future? What are your possibilities? What do you want to create? And start learning to self-source. This is the time for sovereignty, for true sovereignty. And so this is going to be a very pivotal time to have courage. Right now, lean into it. I say lean into the shadow, because the shadow is where I call it the golden shadow, right? So I have these gold codes, because the shadow is going to show you the rejected parts of yourself, the parts of you that have been debased, that you've debased yourself because you've been programmed to. This shit's deep. This stuff is deep, deep, deep. And again, I'm doing my best in my own consciousness to transcend the victim mentality and the perpetrator victim, because if I'm all of it, and this is a practice, a spiritual practice that I've really been anchoring in, this is why I say this even on my channel, all is self, it's all us. We are part of this collective web, this Indra's net of energy. We're not separate from any of it. We're actually deeply connected and embedded in it. And that's what they say even on a quantum level. There is no separation. It's the illusion. The physical is just an illusion that we're separate. So if I'm all of it, right, and this is like radical responsibility here, why did I create these fucking cannibals? Like, what in me am I cannibalizing? If there's war outside of myself and I'm seeing wars outside of myself, where am I still at war with myself? Right? And sorry, I got something in the back of my teeth. I'm thinking, where do I not love myself? Again, Aries, this is the wounds of Chiron, Aries. Well, this is what we have to face, where we have debased ourselves, where we were allowed ourselves to be debased because we didn't know our value. And again, this is taught, this is ancestral. They didn't know their value. There's nobody to blame here. There's no blame game anymore. Again, there's no victims besides the victims in the fucking files. And that's a different consciousness, because we have to protect the vulnerable, and the vulnerable are the children, the youth, right? The female gendered of this reality, because if you look at strength, you know, a lot of the masculine, they tend to dominate. Not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just if they've been programmed to be assassins rather than protectors, because I like to go into the inversion. Look at the word Mars, right? Mars is the protector, it's Aries. But if you invert it then Mars becomes wars. You see? So we have to revert the meanings, the symbols. And how do we do that? Well, guess what? The great thing is the memory is held in the Akashic field in our cells. A lot of people perceive the Akashic field being out there. It's like we're fish swimming in water and we don't know it. We forgot that we're swimming in this field of plasma that's all around us, that's floating in and out of us, because we're not really physically here, really. There's, you know, it's the illusion that we're here. Again, this is very much Moon in Capricorn right now. It wants to be here, it wants to feel stuff. And that's why we created this vessel, this vehicle, so we actually can have an experience. But we were commandeered to buy an experience, or to like buy a ticket to a movie. It's like the fucking movie Saw, or like these horror shows. Like my consciousness was commandeered to buy a ticket to a horror show. And I'm like, what? Why am I in the Saw movie right now? Where the fuck did this movie come from? Excuse my language, guys, but this is Aries right now, right? This is me, the righteous rage, pissed off at myself. And again, the perpetrators, and then I always have to bring it back to self. Well, there is no victims. Where did you allow yourself to be commandeered? So this is sort of the internal dialogue that I go back and forth with. And I try not to take any of it too seriously. I really just learn to surrender and listen to the stories as much as I can without judging. And that's part of the deep work, the deep, I would say, medicine for this time, is to learn to be neutral when this shit comes up, because it will trigger you. I've been triggered and triggered and triggered since 2020. Triggered, pissed off, righteous rage. I want to fuck somebody up. You know, I want to kind of like get on my dark feminine. It's like my Collie. I used to actually be called Collie. They used to call me Collie Mom in the spiritual realms, because I wouldn't put up with shit. Everybody was loving, lighting everybody in kumbaya. And I'm like, doesn't anybody else see the gaslighting around here? Like, yeah, I wasn't very accepted back in my spiritual community in Florida for that reason. But you know what? That's okay, because sometimes we need to be the antagonist. You know, I'm not here to always, you know, anyway, I don't want to go off on that tangent because I want to stay positive. But I think and I feel that when everybody experiences this aspect of self where you get pissed off, where people, you can see people are spiritually bypassing, and you know, they're saying, well, how did I create this? Well, you did create this, but there still is a force outside of us that's also understanding how this energy works. And they've kept the knowledge from us on how this thing works. And so it's up to us to get into that righteous rage and get into that sort of spiritual monk warrior. It's kind of funny. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but I was actually called to watch The Golden Child the other day with Eddie Murphy. Has anybody ever seen The Golden Child? One of my favorite fucking movies from the 80s. And my guides were saying, now I want you to watch this part of the movie. And it was where they had to keep this golden child because he was here to bring compassion for Pisces to the world. And so these demonic dark forces kidnapped this golden child from this mountain of Tibet, and they had to surround him with in a cage with sigils. They had to do blood sacrifice. They killed this teenage girl, or they unalived, excuse my language, social media, don't be pissed. They unalived this teenage girl, right? And they had to feed this child the blood. I'm just telling the story of the movie. And so this golden child was just kind of sitting there, and it had three little leaves, and that's what it was, he was feeding on. But the demon said, don't go close to the golden child, because all the golden child would have to do was touch him. And then the demon or the person who was watching him would just become good. Like he'd snap out of whatever dark force was around him, and he'd immediately want to start helping the child, right? So in a lot of ways, I'm asking my guides, I'm like, ancestors, why are you having me see this? They're like, well, just think of you as that child, right? The innocence, this is also Chiron Aries. You are that innocence. All of humanity is that innocence. All of organic, natural humanity. I'm not talking about the NPCs or the clones. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about organic, natural humans have that ability to simply touch just one aspect, right? Like just touch a crystal, and then that thing will immediately turn to gold. It'll shift the consciousness, and it'll go back to its natural, innocent state, right? And so if you can believe it, you can see it. And again, right now there's this conflict because especially with the moon in Capricorn, well, I've got to see it before I believe it. Well, that's the inversion. You've got to believe it before you see it. And this is the practice, this is the dance. And so this is also what my guides told me. This is why we got to start, what they gave me, the instruction. It's called plasma brailing. And maybe we'll go into this later on at like a study or another video about it, because they're really getting me deep diving into, especially with Jupiter and Cancer right now. Cancer is very much, it's a water sign. It's about feeling. It's about the womb. It's about the mother, ancestors. So a lot of the times if we have a hard time visualizing stuff because we still have imbalances going on with our hormones and our thought processes and just different, again, we've been commandeered to perceive a certain way. The challenge is, how do you change your perception? You've got to drop what you think you know, the beliefs that you've been carrying. And a lot of them are inherited. So you're doing ancestral shit. So I'm looking at the DNA, right? It's like you're shifting the ancestors' DNA, not just your own. This is like lineage stuff. This is generations. But even the word generation is to generate, right? Look at the image behind me. We're generating constantly. And we're replicas of our ancestors. So we have that generative principle within us, and we can commandeer it and reclaim it, especially important windows like today, this Friday the 13th, where it's on a Venus day, it's on a free day, Friday, Frida, which is a goddess of joy and love. And again, she's an aspect of Aphrodite. She's also an aspect of Venus, right? So this is very much the feminine who loves balance and beauty and harmony. And so it's so interesting. She also, again, to me, represents a lot of the Christ consciousness, right? Again, I don't even think Christ had a gender so much, even though I identified him as a masculine. He carried both those codes of the electromagnetic principle within him or them. And what they're saying, what he's saying is, look, like, Jesus and the 12 disciples. Why is it Jesus and the 12 disciples? Well, because he's the 13th, just like the 13th constellation that's been hidden, which is called Ophiuchus, right? The serpent bearer that can hold the serpent. The serpent is our Kundalini. It's our life force energy that exists in our spine, 33 vertebrae. That's why they use the 33, guys. This shit is, they know how this stuff works, and it's not what we think. And it doesn't have to be demonic. What they've done is they've started working with these principles, and then they started playing with energy. They were messing with stuff they didn't know what they were messing with, right? It's like working with a Ouija board. I'm not mocking a Ouija board, but I'm just saying, if you don't know what you're doing, you got to be careful. You have to understand, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Look at bacteria. right? We didn't even know. That's a whole nother dimensional space. Before the microscope was invented, we didn't know that there was bacteria and these little microbes living inside of us. We had no idea that that realm or dimension exists. So we have to believe that there are realms and dimensions that exist outside of us and around us that we can't see, just like the microbes, just like things far away from us that what they've told us is planetary energy millions of miles away, which I think is bullshit. I don't even believe that anymore. I think terrarium, I feel like we're in planes of existence. I don't even think planets are the way we've been taught, even as an astrologer, I'm willing to let all the definitions go, starting from ground zero and tuning into what is truth. What does truth feel like? What does it feel like in my nervous system, in my vibration? And a lot of us don't know what it feels like. So we have to relearn these things. And to me, my child's mind in that way is like, well, when I hear something, does it make me feel empowered and energized and like I can take on the world when I hear this new piece of information, especially about the way our operating system works? Or do I feel disempowered and immediately drawn to fear? Right. So just be very cognizant of these content creators out there that you guys are watching that are like, you know, connected to source and I've contacted angels and ascended masters. And again, I'm not knocking any of that. However, in my belief and knowing and deep diving into that, I'm all of it. So I am the ascended master. I'm just different versions of it, different frequencies. And I can travel it's like a radio station. I just change the station and I'm on, and I'm on the station of ascended masters, which is also a feedback loop of something that already exists within me, within you, within us. So this is just the invitation to maybe, if I rattle some cages, that's okay. This content may not be for everybody. And this perception might not be for everybody, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be for those who are a vibrational match to this type of frequency, who's willing to deep dive and do the work in a different way and see themselves and reality in a new way. And so what I'm going to do different tonight, because I like to play, again, we're here to learn the North Node in Pisces, which is our spiritual nature, and metaphysics and oracle cards. And anybody that's here that's hanging out in the chat, why don't you put where you're from? I'm curious to see where everybody's at that's connecting in this realm of existence, what area that we're all from, because I'm actually currently right now in the United States in a state called Kentucky. So yeah, that's where I'm currently at. Where are you guys from? I'm gonna go ahead and let you put in the chat because I'm gonna pull some cards. And I'm also going to show you this really cool, interesting rulership book that I have from astrology that's all about language. And I've got South Node. So South Node's my mastery if you're studying astrology. And I've got it in Gemini at 29 degrees, 7th house. So yeah, I love language. I love words. I love dissecting and picking apart language. I think that there's codes there, especially the way that the energy moves through symbols like the letters themselves. I see it as moving mandalas, if you will. And so this is really cool rulership book. Hold on. Taking a sip of my detox tea. There's this really cool rulership book. It came into my field years ago. Because man, I've been deep diving with astrology. Shit, it's been my passion I took my first class in 2005. Had my first reading in 2003, and it just blew me away with how accurate it was. Like, holy shit, this woman knew things about me that I didn't even know I knew about. I'm like, how did she know this? And that's what really, I got Scorpio Moon, Scorpio Sun, Mercury, Scorpio 12th house. So right, I like to deep dive and go deep with shit. And so astrology has just been, and it's infinite. If you study astrology, you really will never stop studying because there's so many things to learn with astrology, there's so many things to tap into and learn about. And so one of the things I want to show you guys, this is called the rulership book. I don't know if you guys can see this. Trying to get this, the rulership book. Man, I got the screen, background screen, it's screwing me up. Anyway, I'll put it on the link if you guys are interested. It's called the rulership book by Rex T. Bills. And what it is, it shows, it's kind of like a dictionary, an astrological dictionary. So if you think of a word, it'll have the astrological correspondence to it. So for example, I'm just going to open up a page, right? For whoever's here to receive, let's just see the first word on the page. It opened up to Venus. And the word was lingerie. right? So lingerie is a Venetian word. And if you tune into it, it makes sense, right? Like, oh yeah, beauty, right? Feminine, of course. So I'm going to flip the page again to another word. Now this, and it separates it, it goes either by planets, signs, houses, or just the letters A, B, C, D, E, F. So I turn to you, and the word was unconscious, right? Is what I looked at. So that the word unconscious is connected to the 12th house, which we talked about, Pisces, Neptune, which rules Pisces in the 12th house, and it also has to do with Pluto, right? So what I like to do is periodically, I just like to flip a page and open up to the rulership book and see what word stuck out to me, like that unconscious. So this has to do with, okay, Pisces, 12th house. So I'm looking to see, all right, what's in the 12th house right now? Well, the sun, Mercury, how we think. Vertex is this symbol right here means fated events, things that you're destined to, that you called in this experience. So think about like karma and certain fated things that you were supposed to experience. That's what the vertex means. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep this microphone on. You guys can hear me. And then we've got Mars, which is our action planet, also in Pisces, 12th house. So we got to look at Mars. And what my guides were showing me is like you're taking action in the dream state. I don't know about you guys last night, but I was really pissed off in my dreams. I was fighting, and there was old coworkers with old grudges and shit that I guess I forgot about. I just kind of, whatever, out of sight, out of mind. Well, in my dream state, they were coming back with a vengeance. And I had to deal with these old coworkers that I was pissed off at, right? This is Mars and Pisces. So there's a lot of action in the dream state right now. We're taking a lot of action. There's a lot going on. We're basically we're recalibrating our unconscious mind. So all this shit's got to come up to the surface. And I even woke up going, why am I still pissed off at that? Like, I haven't seen that guy in forever. And that chick, like, it was two different scenarios. Like, I couldn't figure it out. But what my guides were telling me is like, no, don't worry about the characters you created in your dream state. Tap into how you felt. Why are you still pissed off? I'm like, all right. So I had to go in and deep dive. All right, why am I still pissed off? Right. So this is the work, right? Mars is coming up to bring out certain things in our unconscious realms. And this is why it's important that I've been told to carry a dream journal or to intend to remember my dreams so I can figure this shit out. Like, why am I having an emotional response to this character in my dream that I haven't seen in forever? Oh, because that's an aspect of me that I'm still pissed off at, right? That's how I interpret it. Because again, I always pull it back to self, sovereignty. Where am I projecting this in my reality? And so if I buried it because I didn't want to deal with it, it was too painful. Or back then, because I used to be a bartender for many years, so I used to drink a lot. And that was a socialization thing for me, but it was also a form of escapism. Again, I got my Mercury, how I think, and my moon, how I feel, and Scorpio in the 12th house. So it was very intense, man. And sometimes I felt so much intensity. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta escape my body. Let me escapism. Pisces, 12th house. I'm going to drink myself until I don't feel anything. And that's okay because that was just a lesson. That was alchemy, right? I'm not going to judge myself for the medicine I needed at the time because I needed it. I've been through some horrendous shit in my lifetime. And, if I needed, that's what I needed at the time and space, then again, I forgive myself. This is also Pisces. But there's other stuff I have to forgive myself for, and there's other people I have to forgive. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that person pissed me off, or forgot that situation they betrayed me because I wanted to bury it because I didn't want to deal with it. I wasn't ready. My nervous system wasn't ready to handle it yet. So now, as a collective, our nervous system is saying, okay, you're ready to handle this. So, but you're not alone in it, right? We've got each other. This is why I'm being compelled to come on here because, Scorpio like to be hidden. I like to do the deep dive by myself like a monk. But then my guys are like, yo, not gonna come off the mountain and share your story because this might actually empower and help somebody. You never know. Don't quit judging yourself for whatever. Like that's an old paradigm. We gotta step up into the elder now. I'm getting into my crone years, right? So this is the time for the elder, especially feminine, to step in and step into our power, step into our voice, step into learning something new like technology, right? Come out of the shadows, talk about the things that you've been dealing with, your righteous rage, right? Your Collie like energy that wants to go and like destroy. And then when you realize, oh shit, I'm just destroying myself, the more I give this energy, this egregor, my fucking attention, my focus, I'm actually empowering it. I think of the governing systems, right? I think of like war and certain things that are trying to capture my attention. So this is also the responsibility for me to like get in, see what's going on, and get out. So I don't want to be disconnected, right? I don't want to go bury my head in the sand anymore, but I also don't want to feed this thing, whatever this egregor energy is. And if you understand egregors and how they work, they get fed by your energy and your attention because that's how powerful we are. We are generators. We have generations, our ancestors' DNA of generators to generate, the ability to generate realities. So if you can step into your own gnosis, step into your own power, do your deep dives with your spiritual practices, get into your yoga, get into your Tai Chi. I've been doing Falun Dafa. That's been a really great one for me. Holotropic breath work, right? Being out in nature, not doing nothing, not even breathing a certain way or anything, just literally being in nature, bare feet on the ground, put a blanket down, make sure it's cotton because, the fabric matters, right? Make sure your biofield, your toric field, Taurus, is being able to flow and move and expand and connect to the nature spirits around you because those are the healers, the true healers. The pharmacy, FARM, and the farmlands, the soil, right? This is where these microbes are actually beneficial for us. And we've been putting glyphosate and shit trying to kill it off. Why? Because they understand how this thing works. One is disconnected from our own gut biome, our own gut our own gut knowing of things, right? When you know something, you're just like, my gut's telling me. But if we've been eating all these things that fuck up our gut and our biome, you see how it can disconnect us from our own gnosis, our own connection to our ancestors who live inside of us in our DNA, in our cells, right? And the moon is the memory. It holds the tides, it holds water, water holds memory. The ship gets deep. All right, I feel like I've been on a rant here. Does anybody have here, Cernigi, am I saying that correctly? You've been here for a minute. Do you have any questions or anybody have any conversations here? Again, I'm probably on YouTube, but I don't know how to get to it. We'll just guess on that one. Hi, YouTubers. Still figuring you out, but if you have any questions, comments, I'm going to read from the rulership book for anybody that's here now. I'm just going to pick a word. And then I'm going to pick a card from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck because it's, we are living in the waking dream, if you will. And that's just feels fun for me. So let's go ahead and do that for the rulership book for anybody that's here. Cernigi, I'm just going to open up a word. And this is going to be specific to your own chart, right? So just process the word because, again, every word is connected to an astrological symbol or planet or energy. Okay, so forever who's here right now, I'm just going to open and pick a word, maybe a couple words for you to integrate. Let me see what the first one is. Okay, so I saw plant and then I saw spinach, and that lies under Venus. So here we have right now Venus and Aries. So again, we were just talking about plant medicine, right? And so again, this thing gets deep, working with the energy of spinach. What does spinach do? What I've been taught, right, the first thing that I heard was iron. Iron influences our blood, right? The blood of the ancestors. Our ancestry is in the blood. It's the plasma, which is mostly blood. So a lot of us, I've been told, and maybe that's why I'm doing this detox tea, is to detox my blood, right? You can do that with chlorophyll, spirulina. You can do it with some heavy metal detoxes. Again, it's up to you to really discover be your own alchemist. I really truly believe that we are here to be sovereign beings and there is no one right answer for everyone or everything. I think that's a misnomer. I think we've been all genetically engineered with different species. Some of us have different biomes that will influence us. So again, these are just some of the things that I am aware of right now, especially relating to, I'm looking at Venus right now, and we know that Venus is in Aries. Right. So this is the planet of Venus, and it's the first house. So maybe the new sense of identity, a new blood, a new ancestral pattern is coming online. And so maybe if you eat some spinach or you work with plants, because plant is part of it. That's why I love this book, because it really just allows you to kind of spiral into your own gnosis and what it would mean for you. These are just sort of my interpretations of how I work with these energies. Um, so yeah, let's look at another. Let's do in threes, so three words because I like to work with three, right? 333. It's a Jupiterian number. So let's just open the book and see. Oh, I saw bondsman and Baal. That's Scorpio and Jupiter. So bondsman and Baal. So I think of bonds. The image that came to me was like a bonding or a binding, right? So, and that's also Scorpio. And Baal, right? Sometimes I think, you get somebody out of, you get them out on bail. But what I heard was you bail out, like you say, no, I'm out of here. I'm not doing that. Right. So it's almost like you're saying, this is what's coming in right now. This is all intuition. This is my own gnosis saying you can get yourself out of bondage by bailing out of whatever contract, soul contract, or agreement that you had with this reality that you consented to. Again, these are the words that you did not know what you were consenting to, that puts you in this prison of the mind. We're getting ourselves out of jail. We're becoming our own bondsman, right? So this is Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto right now. And so we're looking, that's the planet that rules Scorpio. So we've got to alchemize what? Our thoughts, how we perceive this reality. We've got to eliminate, because that Scorpio also rules elimination. So this is also to me, this is why I've been really called to do a detox and a parasite cleanse, because I understand there's been these systemic parasites that have been living within me internally that I've been feeding unconsciously, not knowing. If you're still eating processed foods and different things, that's what's feeding these consciousness because they have these energies, especially if you're still doing the drive-through thing and whatever, like they're putting these technologies in our food. Just a story. There's no evidence to support this. I'm just telling a metaphysical hour story to anybody watching. So yeah, this is just something for you to deep dive into. Go into Scorpio in your chart. Again, look at your own chart. So far we looked at Venus and Aries. You want to look at that, it's wherever that's in your chart. And then you also want to look to see where Scorpio is in your chart, because that also might be affecting your energies, and just see what placements, see what aspects, how these planets are talking to one another. Okay, this is just an invitation to how to do a deep dive. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep this microphone clear. So yeah, that's what's coming through this. So I'm going to do one more word for the collective. What wants to pop up? Andale, tyranny. And that's some shit. Tyranny and tyrants. And that is actually under Aquarius, or not Aquarius, Uranus. Interesting. So Uranus right now, we look to see where Uranus is. Uranus is in Taurus, and it's getting ready to ingress into Gemini. So Taurus is the Earth, right? So here we are. Look at the correspondence here. It's kind of interesting. Using plant medicine, right? Recalibrating your blood, purifying your blood, which will help you get out of your own prison of the mind, bailsman, bondsman, right? To bail out of this unconsented reality of these tyrannical forces that are with us through the energy of Uranus, which Uranus rules electricity. So I'm thinking of the technocrats, right? These oligarch technocratic thugs who have been tyrannical and using our technology against us. And our technology in Taurus, right, is our own body, the technology of our own body. Because most technology is created by studying the human body, right? We created the camera by studying how our eyes work. We created speakers by understanding how our ears hear, right? There's a correspondence as above, so below. So that was just wanted to come through for this particular transmission. I hope that this resonated. And again, anybody looking at that, you want to see where Uranus is in your chart in Taurus. You want to also see where Venus and Aries is, and you want to see where Scorpio is. Those are the three aspects that we just looked at with the words that were corresponding to the words. And I hope you got some value out of that. Again, this is a little bit of a different periphery on astrology, on metaphysics. I've got Aquarius third house, man. I just see things different. I always have. And I always felt very alone in how I saw things. And it's kind of interesting when you're raised in the church and you're trying to be commandeered to worship and praise these things, and then you ask questions that just don't make sense, and then you get sort of chastised, and sort of just, shunned from these institutions. But I'm grateful for it because it made me go on this search. It made me go on my own pilgrimage, where within the Mecca of my heart is where I had to go, right? The correspondence of this cubed energy. The cube is thoughts, it's Saturn, it's structure. Think about salt cubes. They're crystallized forms of what? Ideas, identities, programs. And so this is not for the weak-hearted. If you are doing any kind of shadow work or willing to look at your shadow self, my invitation to you lovingly is to learn to love your shadow, because those are just the neglected and debased parts of you that have been wounded through centuries, through our ancestors, ancestors, ancestors. And this is the time for us right now with Pluto and Aquarius to resolve that, to heal that, to express that, to be our authentic selves as much as possible, as much as our nervous system allows us to feel safe in that. That is the motivation, that's the expression, and that's the intention. So I hope anybody that's here on this channel found some empowerment, found some just your inner guidance and just inspiration to go and really trust your own inner guidance system moving forward, because you really do have the answers inside of you. Your ancestors, your DNA, they've always been talking to you. It's just learning to listen and learning to tap into truth. And it's a practice, right? This Virgo axis of Pisces right now, we're here to learn the North Node of Pisces, but we're remembering the South Node. South Node is what you do on the daily, right? It's your routine, it's your regimen. What are you regimentally doing for your body, for your intellect, for your spirit, for your soul, for your community, for the people around you? How are you expressing your love on the daily, right? Get into new practices. This might be how we get through this dark night of humanity's soul, because we've created hell on earth. Again, look at these files. Any kind of debased or demonic thing we could have ever feared, we've created it, or it has been created. We co-created it. And if we co-created it, then we can un-co-create it. Like the mama said, I brought you into this world and I can take you out. And I really believe that. And then my mom used to tell me that. And now with this divine feminine, Friday the 13th, ooh, mama's waking up. And yeah, it's retribution time. Again, the Collie Ma energy is coming online for me again. So I'm I don't mind putting on that suit. That's what needs to be done right now. And this is an invitation for anybody that's, again, that righteous rage, right? That monk warrior. But it's in the mind. The war is in the mind. So understand your mind, understand your spirit, understand your heart, and just understand how to navigate from this space. It's a whole different reality if you can. It really, it's almost like a game on frequency. Like, all right, MFs, I've been playing checkers and you've been playing chess, and I didn't even know the game I was playing. So now I know, game on. So that's just sort of an Aries representation of the energy right now. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me on this Metaphysical Hour. Just to let you know, what did you experience? What are you experiencing now? We're going to be here every Friday, 7 p.m. We're going to be joining this community. That's what the intention for this channel is, to build community, build consciousness, allow us to open up our throat chakras, to speak maybe these, I call it the SSBs, our secret spiritual behaviors that we've been enacting with ourselves, and how we can start commandeering our consciousness in this reality for the betterment of humanity, because there's been crimes against humanity that have been perpetrated. And again, the mamas, the papas, those who are true organic beings, the non-NPCs, we're done with it. So go in and do the work, because that's how we're going to project this reality. It's an inside out job. And that's the hardest job we've got right now, but we got this. And we have one another. Lean into your dark, lean into your shadow, and see what's there, because there's gifts there, I promise you. It may not look like it at first, but you just got to go through it. It's an experience. That's all I can say. There's only so much words that can take you. Sometimes the experience it's ineffable. We have experiences that you don't have words for it. You just have to feel it and experience it. Again, plasma brailing. You got to feel it before you can see it. You got to believe it before you see it. All right, that's the final message for today, guys. Thank you so much for connecting. I love you, and I'll see you next Friday. I think I'm going to be going for Thursday nights on YouTube. I'm going to be grounding it in because I'm being told to express more. So I'll do primarily astrology on Wednesdays. I'll go on YouTube, Metaphysical Hour on Thursdays, and I'll go Friday night Metaphysical Hour on TikTok. That feels good. I want to cover all my bases, really nurture my community. I've got Saturn in Cancer, 7th house, so I've got to be nurturing you guys. I got to be bringing the codes that make you feel supported and empowered and nurtured. And if you felt any of that, then I'm grateful that I showed up and said yes to this experience. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Mwah, much love. And I'll see you next Friday or any of the other times. Wednesday 3:30 for astrology on TikTok. Thursday, Metaphysical Hour on the tube. And then Friday back here for Metaphysical Hour, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's all Eastern Standard. Okay, guys, much love. Mwah. See you soon. Bye.